Hello, I'm Viola Holmes, registered dietitian and diabetes care and education specialist, and welcome to this Nutrition Nuggets segment. So, tonight, or I should start off by saying Happy Black History Month also. And the theme for Black History Month this year is health and wellness. I love that theme. And it reminds me of a passage of scripture. It reminds me of 3 John verse 2, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prosper. That really gets to health and wellness. And February is also Heart Month. And when I think about the health of African Americans and how we're disproportionately at risk for chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes, I really just like to focus time on talking about small ways to improve your heart health. I was a teenager when my father died of a fatal heart attack. And at that time, I didn't realize that it could be prevented. And at that point, it was kind of my mission to, once I learned that you can prevent from having a heart attack or you can do some things to really reduce your risk. When I realized that, that's when I knew I had to go into dietetics because it was the power of prevention. And a lot of people may have been like me, they didn't even know it. And like my father. This pandemic has also, we know the pandemic is disproportionately affecting African American communities. And diseases like heart disease have gone up during this pandemic due to the stress, due to eating differently. And another thing, we're sitting more than we're moving now because a lot of people are still at home working or we're just not going out as much. So we really, when you have heart disease, you're at risk for, stroke and then sometimes high blood pressure goes along with it. So this month, I really want to go with our Black History Month theme of health and wellness, as well as heart health, and really stress the importance of taking care of your heart because you only have one heart, right? So take good care of it. And one of the things you can do is start by thinking about or learning about the different kinds of fats that's in your diet. Because the type of dietary fat that you eat affects your cholesterol in your body. And there's cholesterol in food as well, but usually we're more concerned about the fat in the food affecting your cholesterol in your body than the cholesterol in that food. Okay, so let's talk about fats for a while. And so there are different kinds of fats. There are fats that are solid at room temperature, and hopefully you can see my stick of butter. This is solid. I could leave it here on my table pretty much all day, and it would stay solid like this. Then the next level, there are fats that are a little bit softer, right? So I've got a thing of country crock margarine here, any type of tub margarine. It's softer than this stick of butter. If you get a whipped butter, in a container like this, it's softer because there's air fluffed in it and there's water in it as well. So we have the hardest type of fat, a softer one, and then we have our liquid fats. This is olive oil, so different types of oils are liquid fats. The fats that are the most harmful for your heart are the solid ones. So let's think about it. This is solid. And so when we eat foods with the more solid fats, there's a chance that this fat is going to stick to the arteries stick to the lining of our arteries. And so this kind of hard fat increases our chances of high cholesterol in our arteries. And that in turn increases our risk of heart disease. So one of the things that I always like to think about first is if you're using a lot of hard fats like butters and shortenings, lard type things, then how can you replace some of those hard fats with a softer fat? It would be preferred to use an oil, but we know that oil doesn't always work, right? If you're baking something, it's not going to work well if you're using an oil. So there are the softer fats. So can you sometimes, in place of, adding butter on things or cooking with butter, can you replace it with a softer fat? You're still going to get the fat calories, but it's not as saturated, so it's not as hard. It's a better choice. And some of the softer ones are even made with like olive oil. So if you can get one that's an olive oil base, is great. They're not saying you have to completely get rid of your butter, but can you use a little bit less of it? Do you have to put as much on your breads? Can you cut the amount that you usually put in that sauce in half if you feel like, replacing it with a more soft one is not going to work? Okay, so the first type of fat you want to work on is if you can replace those hard fats with an oil. And again, olive oil is the best, along with canola oil. It works. Canola oil tends to be more versatile. There are now avocado oils. Some of the oils are pretty pricey. So, getting a nice canola oil can be good. And again, you can use it in many ways. Having some olive oil for dressings and things is also nice. But the good thing about, the canola and olive oil is that, and peanut oil is a good choice as well. The type of fat in it helps to reduce your blood cholesterol level. So that's, plain vegetable oil, is better than using butter, but it's not as good as canola oil. So that has properties to, again, help bring your cholesterol down. So the more you can use those, that's the preferred choice. Okay. Other heart healthy fats, so using oil more instead of solids, different kinds of nuts are a heart healthy choice. But you just have to be cautious because nuts do have a lot of calories. So there's something that's good. You don't want to have a whole can in front of you, though, watching TV, because you might really overload on calories. So finding ways to incorporate nuts into your day can be a great source of those monounsaturated fats that help to lower your cholesterol. Can be in a form of a nut butter, a almond butter, a peanut butter even. Great choices, but again, just watch portion sizes. Other healthy fats, along with a canola or an olive oil and nuts, are avocado. If you like it, having a few slices of avocado on your sandwich or in a salad or with eggs. Or if you've never tried it, I would encourage you to try it. And, often you can find those on sale in the grocery store. So it's worth a try. So try them. Olives are another healthy fat, but olives are high in sodium, so watch out. And again, anything that's fat, the calories can add up. So if you have too many olives, you're going to get a lot of sodium, and you'll still get those calories as well. But think about how you can get some of those healthy fats in your diet. And so if we think about, again, these saturated fats, there are other foods that are saturated fats. And butter comes from an animal, right? So anything that comes from an animal, you're going to get these hard fats. I mean, think about the meat counter, right? You can see the red meats, you see the white fat marbled in the meat. That skin on your poultry is fat. It's a saturated, it's an animal fat. So anything that comes from an animal has the hard fat in it. So that's why portion sizes of meat is an issue. If you like large portions of some fattier meats, working on reducing that can be a great strategy. And I have this, and I'm not sure if I've shared it on this program before, but there's this little thing called more feet, more fat. So think about the different animals that I name. Cow has four legs, right? So 4 hoofs or feet, whatever you want to call them, is 4. A pig has 4. And then if we think about the chicken, they have 2 legs, right? 2 feet. Or think about a turkey, there's 2, right? Think about a fish, no feet at all. So the more feet, the more fat. So try to have your protein, if you're eating animal protein, come from fish more, or chicken and turkey, because they have no or fewer feet, and that means less fat. So, reserve the red meats for, once or twice a month. Or if you eat a whole lot of red meats in a given week, a great heart health strategy may be to cut back on it. If you say, oh, I think if I think about lunch and dinner over the course of a week, I probably have red meat 4 times a week. A great goal might be to try to reduce that to twice a week. And in place of some of that red meat, have chicken without the skin, or turkey, or even a fish as a way to reduce the fat. So think about your portion sizes of protein sources, your meats, and then remember, more feet, more fat. Some fish also have healthy omega fats that help with heart health. Okay. And so that's salmon, mackerel, tuna is a choice as well. So how can you get some of those fattier type fish because it's a good omega fat for your body? So, the whitefish, they're okay to have because they're lean. Trout, things like that, they're okay to have, certainly. But your cods, things like that, but they just don't have those omega fats that help reduce cholesterol. But they are a better choice than, the other protein sources. Okay, so think about lean meats, the other animal products that have saturated fats are your cheeses. So if like the cheeseburger, you know, maybe a goal would be instead of having a cheeseburger, you're going to have a hamburger. So you are reducing that saturated fat and you're reducing calories. Or if you really love cheese and you have it, a couple slices at a time and, every day or a couple times a day, maybe, if you can work on reducing that cheese. Or just have the cheese sandwich and leave the meat off if it's a higher fat meat. Come up with a strategy that works for you. There are lots of lower fat cheeses out. Swiss cheese is the lowest in fat and the lowest in sodium. So if you're not opposed to it, that may be something to consider. But the reduced fat ones, often you can't really tell a difference with the reduced fat cheeses. It's really not a huge difference, but it is. I think for most of those, from regular to reduced fat, you go from 6 grams of fat to 3 grams. So you cut back some, but you don't want to have the reduced fat cheese and then eat more of it, because that would cancel out kind of switching to a reduced fat. Yeah, that is eye-opening. I'm seeing the comment here. The other thing, so your milks, it comes from an animal. So if you're drinking dairy milk or if you're baking and cooking, we go back to the sauces. Often there's sauces that have cheese and milk and butter, right? All saturated fat. So how can you change that recipe up a little bit, or have a different type of sauce, or maybe no sauce, but just use your herbs and your seasonings? And again, there are plant-based milks out. So maybe instead of having dairy milk, if you can't do skim milk or 1% milk, you really don't like it, maybe try the oat milk or try the soy milk or the almond milk. It's just a wide range of choices now. Of course, ice cream, you want to limit anyways, yogurts, things like that, but they're all dairy. So remember, for heart health, you want to limit the amount of animal products. We tend to eat way more meat than we have to. Limit the dairy products. Try to use oils more than butters and margarines, and incorporate a few nuts along the way and things like avocado if you like them. And coconut oil. People often think that coconut oil is a great choice. Well, that's just a health trend, or it seems to be dying down some now. Coconut oil has saturated fat. It's a plant item that has the fat that animals tend to have. Coconut oil may be great for your hair, great for your skin, and so many different uses, but it's not one that's recommended by the American Heart Association. So limit the use of coconut oil if that's something that you've started to use. And then watch out for the processed things like processed meats, the bolognas, the salamis, the bacon, sausages, things like that. Particularly the pork varieties. You can try maybe a turkey variety. They tend to have quite a bit less fat. But those processed meats, hot dogs, things like that are another source of saturated fat. I mean, think about those hot dogs. What are they made from? Whatever's left after gotten what they need from the pig or the cow or whatever. So meatless meals are a wonderful thing too. And so next time we'll probably talk about incorporating some fiber in there. So I had a comment here. So one thing I would do sometimes is take half a slice of cheese, cut it into slices, and distribute the small slices on the sandwich so that I would get a little cheese in every bite. That's a great idea. Yeah. Or sometimes using a shredded cheese would work for some people if they can't cut it because they're just going to be tempted to use the whole slice. A good idea. So we really want people to come up with their own strategies. You get the knowledge, the information that you need, and you figure out how to incorporate it into your lifestyle in a lasting way. So this first week of Black History Month, our theme being health and wellness, and Heart Month, think about the kinds of fats and how much fat you're having in your diet. Maybe it's adding this week. So the idea is I'm going to add olive oil instead of those butters. I'm going to add some nuts. Or maybe for you, it's taken away, less red meat, less pork. So think about what you'd like to work on this week. And I look forward to talking to you more next week along these themes. And remember, that to take good care of yourself. And also, if you're cooking for a family, it makes a big difference for our families as well. Because again, we're just disproportionately impacted by these poor health outcomes. And we've got the new numbers on diabetes recently from the CDC, and we're just, it's going in the wrong direction. So take good care of yourselves and your families and get up and move more as well. God bless. Until next time. Bye-bye.